we'll see what kind of trouble we can get into as we hit record and on. Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, a place for Canadian affiliates and those who rep T-shirts of Canadian affiliates and coaches as well. We have you're not a first, second time guest, but you are our first international second time guest. We have Daniel Chaffey from Bordeaux, the south of France. So still, we'll do things the same way because we're going to talk about consistency today. Introduce yourself, introduce your affiliates, and I know I'm interested so we did this the other day at the affiliate. It's pumpkin spice season here in North America, and I want to know if that's a thing in Europe. And I know you at least travel enough around, and if you know what spice is, and if you're team pumpkin spice or not.
It's definitely not a thing. The thing in France at the moment is changing governments every few months. That's what we got. We're into that, and increasing taxes. Making life difficult for small business owners. That's what we're into in France. And no, it's not a thing. Am I team pumpkin spice? I don't know. I've never had it.
Have you ever had a pumpkin? Okay.
So when I come over in October, you're gonna have to get something ready for me.
Okay, deal. And then what are your three affiliates?
So CrossFit Louvre, which is on Avenue de l'Opéra in the center of Paris. And then CrossFit Louvre 2 is 600 kilometers further south in Bordeaux. So it's like 4 minutes from the house here. And then CrossFit Louvre 3 is back up in Paris, just behind Gare Saint-Lazare. So we have 2 in Paris, 1 in Bordeaux, which it doesn't make it easier operationally. I could have done some cost savings and some savings on human resources if I put all the boxes in the same city. But there are some personal reasons for it and some commitment reasons. And I don't regret it. We're having a lot of fun.
And you often, and so I'm actually, you've got the CrossFit Banff shirt. I've got the Owners and Coaches Conference T-shirt repping that you had 3 great conversations at, and only got slapped on the wrist once. So with your 3 affiliates, let's get right into the nitty gritty. Is what is your members? How many members do you have at each one? Because for those who don't know, it's quite staggering, but we'll talk about why you're able to achieve such a thing, and that's the theme for today.
I'll give you the exact numbers at the end of August. So we have a little recap doc that each gym does at the end of the month that the manager or the team leader from reception and the head coach put together. So Louvre 1 has on direct debit, right? So I'm not talking paying monthly or yearly upfronts. Any upfront membership we don't count. It's like a one paid. It's like as if they're already gone, right? Any 10 pass cards, that kind of stuff doesn't count either. Just monthly memberships. We have 1,388. That's in Louvre 1. And then for Louvre, I'll get to the others in a second. For Louvre 3, we have 883 members monthly on direct debit. And then Louvre 2, I'll get to it now. Louvre 2, we have 872 members on direct debit.
With those numbers currently, is that after, say, like, because again, at least here in North America, end of August is generally kind of a bit of a dip, and then things go back up. Is that the same for you guys over there as well?
Yeah. So we know that July and August are tough months, right? from the 14th of July, which is a bank holiday, to the 15th of August, which is another bank holiday, France is like dry cleaners shut down. The restaurants around here close for 3 weeks, because in France you've got to give 5 weeks of paid leave. So most businesses close in the summer for at least 2 weeks in order to get everyone out the door at the same time, and to be able to manage their staffing a bit better. So yeah, summer's a really tough one. And so your goal in July is to literally like not lose members, which is pretty tough in France. And then if you do lose in July, you hope to pick them up in the second half of August. So we often think that the return from holiday is like from the 1st of September onwards. It's actually not. It's around the 23rd, 24th of August, depending on where the weekend falls. And so that last week of August can actually be quite good. So I'll tell you what we did in terms of net members. So Louvre 2 did 0. So we had the same number of leavers as joiners, the same number of joiners as leavers.
Okay.
Louvre 3, we had plus 24 members in August. So it grew nicely, Louvre 3. Louvre 1 had a tougher month, but it's more for staffing. We had 0. So we had 46 leavers and 46 joiners. So the teams worked hard to get to break even in August. So the goal now is in September is to get a nice kick up, a nice hockey stick effect. And with good referrals and good integration of the people that join in September, you get a carryover effect into October, which is a strong month as well. November, you can get we generally get small growth, but we still get growth in November. And then December, you're back to trying to defend what you've gained in September, October, November, and defending that in December with the Christmas break. Then January and February are growth months again. March tends to be okay. April, around the holiday time, Easter time, is a tough one as well. May's a good month because it's, hey, we're thinking of the beach and let's go get fit before summer. So you get that, that get ready for the summer uptake. June is slight growth, and then you're back to July and August again. So you have to strategize the 12 months. And then, we have processes for that. So like at the end of August, they present to me the number of leavers that requested to leave in August, which means they leave at the end of September. And that's your sales budget, is that number of leavers. Your strategy and how you strategize will be sales budget plus some in order to get growth, right? So we have systems for all that. We plan and prepare the month. It changes nothing to what happens on the gym floor and what happens with the coaches. It's just you're planning for your growth, right? And you don't need to have growth of 20 members a month. You can double your membership in like 7 years with 8 years with like 7% growth per year. That's it, and you've doubled your membership. And that's what I'd recommend that, people try and benchmark is from the 1st of January to the 31st of December, you have like a 7%, growth year on year. So I have a spreadsheet that does I look at what happened last year, and then I benchmark off that to project for the next year. And we try and stay in those numbers. And then monthly they come in and they're going to do a strategy. So I'll show you quickly what it looks like, but it's just an Excel spreadsheet. So if you've got your sales goal and your strat, like 31 days of the month, and you put your appointment ratio, show ratio, close ratio in. And so you spread the number of sales out over the month, but not every day is the same, and not every Monday is the same. We know that the third week of the month is slower than the first and second. Why? People get paid, so they got money to spend first and second week. Some get paid in the fourth week, so you get a pickup in the fourth week, but the third week is slow. So Mondays are stronger than Wednesdays, but Tuesdays are stronger than Mondays, for example. Why? Because you get no shows from the Monday that you can pick up for the Tuesday. Fridays are pretty slow days. Why? Because most people after work on a Friday, they don't necessarily want to go in for trial sessions, so on and so forth. So you strategize your month, and you make sure that your strategy is equal or more than what you wanted to have as a budget. And from there, how how many appointments you need per day. You need to walk into per day. So for a day with a goal of 3 sales, you may need 7 appointments. That will give you 5 presentations, and from 5 presentations, you make the number of sales. And so what activity you have to do in the previous days in order to walk into that number of appointments. It's as simple as that. It's selling is a numbers game, and you plan and prepare for that success. But then what happens with those people as they walk through your door? That's where you've got to fall in love with CrossFit, and you've got to fall in love with hospitality. But you can prepare and plan for scaling a CrossFit box. So the numbers I gave you earlier, numbers of members, some people may be going, oh, fuck, bullshit, or that's impossible, or it's not for me, it's not my gym, or whatever. Listen, we're doing the same things even better now with like 1,388 members than we were when we had 40 members and it was just me and my ex-wife in the gym. We've just codified what we wanted to happen, and then train the ass out of it in the teams as they come in, and then you grow your team one person at a time. And then in 10 years time, well, instead of being 2 people, you're 15 or 20, and you're serving, instead of serving 50 members, you're serving 350, 400 members, and so on and so forth. So it is possible. It just needs a lot of structure. And then you need someone who's ready to hold people accountable every day. And that accountability is really important. And I don't have the bandwidth for that anymore. So honestly, since 2017, I haven't really had the bandwidth for that. And I'm lucky because Sophie does. So Sophie, we founded the boxes with, my ex-wife and Sam's mum. She's outstanding at just never getting bored with the basics that give success, and just going over the basics all the time. And that with anything to do with prospecting, sales, and operations. And then I have the same thing with David on the coaching side. Never get bored with the basics. Never get bored with giving feedback to a coach. Never get bored with requiring a lesson plan and reviewing lesson plans. Never get bored with sitting down and having a chat to make sure that the next session is better than the last one that's just gone. If you find people that don't get bored with the basics and want to hold people accountable, that's where you can maintain those results through time. Yeah. Sorry, I went on a bit as an answer on that one.
I think it does set the tone nicely, because maybe the tens of people listening will find what you just said very intimidating. But if they follow you on Instagram, or if they come to one of your talks, you like to give as much of the resources as you can. And really, I think what you're saying is where you guys are at currently is an end result of just a system and process that you have consistently followed for a number of years, and then got to a point where you replicated it.
And you tweak it, right? It's what we do and how we do it will be slightly different. It's like how we follow our new members and the integration is slightly different now than it was 3 years ago. Why? Because we find things that work a little bit better. Or I'll go to a box and I'll see something and go, shit, I'm stealing that. You bring it back, and you want to integrate that into what you do. So there's no harm in tweaking things, but it's not big revolutions. It's just evolution, and fine tuning. I think, and the thing about giving information and scripts and processes, I have no issues with even the boxes that are 2 minutes from ours having all the information. My experience tells me that the biggest thing is, once you've understood it and you believe it and you believe in it, not that many people actually have the discipline to make it, to build it and to bring it into existence, and to do that over time, and to be doing it in 5 years like they were 3 years and 6 months down the line, because people want to go to the next new thing, or it's like, no, what do we coach? Our business is group coaching, and it's the CrossFit methodology, and that's it. And we haven't budged since end of 2011, beginning of 2012.
What's interesting about what you just said too is going back to the basics is 2 books that I know you're a big fan of that I want to talk about today, that I actually purchased within the first year of owning my affiliate, were the E-Myth and Traction. And for those who can't see, I'm holding them up, but the E-Myth Revisited and Traction. And this is a very general question, but could an affiliate owner build an extremely successful business using almost just only these 2 books?
I think they're really good starting points. I really do. Those are fantastic books. Okay. And actually, Traction I was rereading like a month ago. It was one of my 2 books from last month, and it's one of those books that you can go into every couple of years, and you're going to have a slightly different take on it. And because you're not the same person reading it 2 years down the line. I think it's outstanding if you're beginning a business. The E-Myth will help you understand how you've positioned yourself. Are you the
can we
mechanic?
do a little bit more of a deep can we do a little bit more of a deep dive into the E-myth for a second? Because in just reading it like truly within like the past month, it's like, because I don't know if, well, let's say this is, can you summarize what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial seizure? Because when he
The
talks
seizure?
about the entrepreneur, when he talks about that, it's like, how is that not almost every affiliate right now, at least in North America? So can you summarize it, and maybe someone will be like, holy shit, that's me.
Are you talking about where they get to a point where they should be working on the business as opposed to in the business, and they don't necessarily make that step,
No,
right?
the one before that, the step
Oh,
before where they're like,
the love of
it's
being
just
a
like,
mechanic.
I'm gonna open my own business and do this.
Yeah. I like, well, and even in CrossFit, there's one step more, right? Because the mechanic, so the analogy is the mechanic, or and then the manager of the garage, or the owner of the garage, right? And so the analogy is the mechanic's the one that fixes the car. You know, the manager is the one that makes sure the mechanics are fixing all the different cars that are in there. And then the owner is living 6 months down the line, you know, and the manager is making sure people get billed, the money's coming in on a daily basis, all that kind of stuff. And the owner has to make sure that, you know, the workshop is full 6 months down the line, and that kind of stuff. And I think in CrossFit, you don't just have the coach and, you know, the manager or head coach and the owner. You also have the person that loves to train, that then goes, hey, shit, I love this CrossFit thing. I think I'm going to open my own gym, you know? And they're not even at the stage of being a mechanic. They just love to drive a friggin' car. You know, that's how crazy it is. And it's like, I love to drive. I'm going to open. That's how crazy some of this. And so some of the affiliates we talk to are like, yeah, you're not even a mechanic. Your guy just loves to. Why? How do I know? Because you spend 3 hours a day training, and you spend 0 hours a day prospecting, or you spend 0 hours a day giving feedback to the coach. So you're the mechanic. You know, So what do you need to do? Well, you need to hire someone who can be the mechanic. You need to hire someone that's ready to be the head mechanic and the manager, and you need to hire someone that can live 6 months down the line. Otherwise, you're destined for failure, right? And then the same thing with the guy who wants to coach. There's no issue with loving to coach, but the difference between the coach and the athlete, the coach at least loves CrossFit, but he loves also other people, and actually sharing CrossFit with others. That's the difference between the one who's got the athlete mindset, training for themselves, and the one that wants to share it with other people. A good coach is turned towards other people and actually prioritizes other people's training before their own, right? That would be the good mechanic. I may be driving a shitty car, but I love fixing yours, and I want you to be happy with your car, right? That's the good coach. But even that's not enough to make sure that you're going to be in business in 2 years' time. And so you need someone that's making sure that everything is operating well, because you may be on the gym floor and your toilet's flooding, and your members are walking out the door unhappy at the end of the session, but you don't even know it. The members that just joined, you haven't integrated correctly. They haven't been in for the first 2 weeks, but no one's calling them. But you're loving training. You're loving coaching. You're loving coaching the people that are actually coming into the gym. But that's not enough. You know, if you want to scale and make sure that you have that, I'd say 20 to 25% cushion. You know, your break even is there, and you should have 20 to 25% above. That's your safety. That's your profit today. But in case anything happens, that's your cushion. You can only get that cushion if you're looking further than what's happening, you know, right in front of you right now. Right? And so when you get to become the manager is the one that, okay, you have some people helping you. You've employed some people now. You got to make sure that they're working. You got to make sure they're efficient. It doesn't mean yet that you're analyzing and you're looking 6 months down the line. You're making sure that the plates are spinning here. You know, you're making sure that reception's receptioning. You know, you're making sure that the toilets are clean. You're making sure, you know, and you may be hiring a cleaning company, maybe whatever it is, right? You'll be in the gym on a daily basis as a manager. You know, you're not remote. You're not, you know. But if you want to scale, you know, and you want to have, you're going to start to need processes on human resources. You're going to start to need accounting processes. You're going to start to need induction, onboarding, offboarding. You're going to need to have systems for members who want to freeze their membership, who are asking to leave, who want to join, bring in trial sessions. You need to be looking at, you know, what is your service and hospitality going to look like in 6 months' time. All of that comes down to someone who takes a step back and is actually going to be working on the business as opposed to in the business. You can't have your head down like this and see the future. And that's the difference between the manager makes sure that what you want to be executed is getting executed, and the business leader, the one who's living in the future, is the one who's saying, well, how can we make sure this is still around in 2 years' time, and it's even better than it is today? And they can sometimes be the same people, depending on the scale of your business, right? But you need to be able to change hats. You need to be able to be in the business and then take time. And so that takes a lot of discipline in your own time management and how you allocate your time, which is your most precious resource, right? And so I did that for a few years. I'd say up until about 2018, I'd been country manager for about a year with CrossFit France. And then the country manager role started to evolve. And instead of being just like 5 hours a week, it then became like 15, 20, 25, 30. And so I couldn't be doing both. So I then withdrew myself, and I started to upskill David and Sophie. And at the time, Julian was with us too. And Illy was doing some stuff on the coaching side for us as well. So we're upskilling those guys so that they were managing the daily business, and I'd withdrawn myself, and I was just looking into the future, whether it was with the French Showdown or with Operating with Excellence or with the boxes, and that worked pretty well. So and that's where attraction will come in. You know, you need your org, right? Or I think in traction they call it the accountability chart, and you need to be able to anticipate what your orgs will need to look like in a year's time or 6 months' time as well, right?
Well, because I think, CrossFit is, what's that?
Did that answer your question?
CrossFit is a people business. Yes, it did. Yeah, CrossFit is a people business. And so even as we try to evolve it as a business itself, sometimes I think and I've fallen victim to this as well, is in a short period of time, is we start to build the business around the people instead of getting the processes in place and then filling them from there. And in traction, he talks about filling this like buses on or seats on a bus. You can have the seats and you have the people, but are the right people in the right seats? And oftentimes it's no, and that's not a fault. It's not a like, oh shit, what have I got myself into? It's maybe just the seat didn't exist before the person sat in it.
I mean, in traction I think it's in traction. They talk about one of the mistakes I think we make in our boxes is, you know, we want our boxes to be nice, friendly places, right? So we don't want to upset people and all this kind of stuff, which means often we don't address underperformance, and we accept people who aren't right for the role because they've been there a long time. But the roles evolved, the expectations have evolved, but the person isn't the right person, you know. And often we don't address that. It's like, why? Oh, well, you know, I opened the gym with them, or, you know, they were my first coach. But, you know, part of being in your community evolves, your box is going to evolve. I hope it does. Otherwise, if you don't, you know, you're going to be attracting a very limited number of people to your gym, right? But if people don't evolve with it, they may be the right person back in 2020 and the wrong person in 2025. And that's an important one as well. I see that quite often as well. Oh, you know, yeah, well, no, they don't really want to do service calls to member, or they don't really want to do this, or, you know, it's like, well, why not? That's part of your expectations. That's what needs to get done, right? Yeah, but, you know, it's just that they're a really nice person. They've been around a long time. Okay. Then accept that you're not going to execute what you want to get executed. Accept that, you know, you're not going to be giving the excellence in hospitality and coaching that you want to be giving. But accept also that may be a handbrake on the evolution of your gym and the growth of your community, right? And what you can afford to pay your staff, what you can invest in the gym and your community, and so on and so forth. People, the staffing is the most important ingredient in the gym. We're talking about it in where were we? Albany, that wonderful city north of New York, right? We're talking about people are the most important ingredient. They're your most important human resource. They're actually what do you call it in English? You have a raw material, right? So like in the car business, your raw material might be steel, or, you know, our raw material is people. you know, and then,
Right.
you know, you mold them into the excellence that you want. You take them on a development journey. But our raw material is people. It's like, imagine, would you buy shit steel for your cars? Would you buy poor quality ingredients if you owned a restaurant? You wouldn't. Would you accept that someone delivers poor quality ingredients? You know, they sell you fantastic fantastic meat, and they deliver you know, shit meat. You wouldn't accept it. And yet we still kind of set the standard sometimes a bit low in some of the gyms. I think we have wonderful people, but they may not be right for the gyms that they're in. And then I think it's in Traction where he says, how do you esteem if it's the right person? And he has the do they get it? Do they get what the mission is? Do they get what their role is? Do they understand it?
Do
they want
it? Capacity for it?
But do they want it also for the right reasons, right? And then do they have the capacity? And the capacity isn't just the intelligence; it's the emotional intelligence, it's the bandwidth as well. Will they have the time to sacrifice to become excellent in that role? And those are the three filters that he uses to work out: is it the right person for your organization? And then are they in the right seat? And you can have good people for your organization, but in the wrong seat, right? Yeah.
I think as we dig into this stuff too, it might be like, we're not here to give a full dissertation on the two books. I guess what I really want to get across as we talk about it is they're worth reading. Is really the point. Is you know, you just coincidentally had read Traction this summer. I just read Traction and moved on to the E-Myth. But one thing that like I actually earmarked, and I thought of you when I earmarked it, and then just being able to have this conversation about it, was in the E-Myth on page 105. He talks about working on your business, not in it. And number 5, your franchise model will provide a uniformly predictable service to the customer, and goes on to describe there were 3 different experiences, and it was a sour approach to the barbershop. I know one of the things that you do is experience from a customer perspective. So how important is that consistency for you guys?
That's a really good question. It's fundamental.
That's a really good question. It's fundamental.
I had this conversation with my director of training a few hours ago. We were doing our weekly meeting, and I was a bit pissed off because by digging in, I literally found out that one of the people is doing service calls to our members. So we do service calls to our members on their birthday, and we do service calls to our members at 15 days, 30 days, and 45 days after they join. So that crucial period where we want them to adopt CrossFit into their life, right? And we want them to feel welcome in the gym. And we have talking points and scripts for each of these calls. So it's codified. Like, I know what excellence looks like on the first phone call. I know what excellence should look like on the third phone call if they've completed the on-ramp. I know what excellence should look like on the third phone call if they haven't yet completed the on-ramp, right? And so we had these talking points. And there's one guy who's not using the scripts, who's just calling and saying, yeah, I've done this. It's like, it's not, so, okay, tell me you're doing the task. But if I'm not physically in the gym, how do I know if he's doing it the way that I want him to do it? There's no point me delegating to him if he's not doing it better than I would. And he should be doing it better than I would, because it's his full-time job. He should be doing it better than I would. And I have to take away all the gray of what he perceives as being a good service call and what I know to be a really good service call. And I'm ready to listen if he can improve it, right? But unless he can improve it, he's doing it the way I want it to be done. And so that's why it's really important to codify everything, you know. And it starts with expectations. And then for every expectation, you're going to have maybe a little chart, a little flow chart, a list, talking points, scripts, whatever it is, right? But so for someone who opens a gym, I want them to open the gym the same way on a Monday than they do on a Friday. Why? I don't want them to get a good service on the Monday and a dreadful service on the Friday, just because it's 2 different people opening the gym. Yeah. Same thing with coaches, you know. How do you welcome your members? What do you do in the 5 minutes before class? I don't want someone going in and saying, "Oh, it's Cassie today. That's great. I love her." And then come in and go, "Oh no, it's Peter. Oh, don't like him." You know, it's like you should like everybody. Why? Because we have them doing excellent things in an excellent way, and they bring their character to it. But as soon as you start to scale and you start to have more than one person, unless you want inconsistency, you have to codify. And the idea of codifying everything to the point where you could literally franchise your business is a really nice point, and that's what you mentioned in that's going to the extreme, but it's a very useful way of seeing things. So, for example, I showed you the recap doc earlier. I showed you the strat. All 3 gyms do the same. Why? Because it also makes it easier for us to have conversations with them from a distance. So when Sophie calls, you know, she knows. She doesn't have to spend 20 minutes discovering where we are at with the gym, right? We have the same procedures throughout all the gyms. But then after that, it's not just about codifying it, taking them through learning up. You have to keep inspecting it, because what will happen is, even when someone does get it and they want it and they have the capacity for it, they learn what you want them to do. They learn how to do it. They prove that they can do it well to you. Unless you inspect, you're going to get that 1 degree of difference between what you want to happen and what is happening. And that 1 degree over time is I love drawing, right? So hold on. So
you imagine multimedia presentation now.
This is your starting point, and this is your destination, right? Give me a holiday destination with palm trees and sun. Give me a holiday destination. Varadero in Cuba, right? This is Varadero, right? That's where you want to go with your team, right? You know, so that's a destination. And every single detail on here, every single day, is a step in that direction. But what happens after a few days? They do this, and then all of a sudden they come off here. Boom! They come off here, right? They've gone off by 5%. What happens if I don't correct them at that time? They keep going, and they're not here. But this is a Varadero. It's Guantanamo, right? It's not the same bloody destination. Why? Because of 1 deviation that wasn't corrected. So you have to inspect, right, what you expect. I mean, this is like I know it's a silly drawing, but it's very graphic, right? If this is we want 1,500 happy members, right, in the gym, and you do this, you do that there, and that's going to be 1,200, and they're pissed at something, right? And so you have to inspect. In order to, you correct this, boom, and then they keep going. They deviate here, you correct it again, and they keep going. They deviate here, you correct again. And that's what inspection does. So you have to have accountability in inspection. And it doesn't mean you don't trust them. It's just human nature, you know? It's just human nature.
I think it is, again, it's like we as coaches and affiliate owners, and even individuals who love to train, who are thinking of going on that entrepreneurial journey, we are already pre-wired to do this stuff, because this is what happens in a CrossFit workout. Today's workout is Cindy. Great. The coach is going to set the expectation of what a chin over the bar pull-up looks like, what a push-up looks like, and what a squat looks like. And then they're going to teach you how to do it. We're going to say, hey, let's all get on the same page and find out, right? And instead of my seats, that's your scaling options. I'm going to put everyone in the right scaling option based on where they're at. And then 3, 2, 1, go. As a coach, I'm going to be walking around to make sure everyone is still meeting those standards that I have vehemently expressed at the beginning, that I put so much passion on. And then at the end, we're going to quantify the results, right? So we know these things. I just think, and I'm extremely guilty of this, it's something that, like, why I'm revisiting is, like, we just maybe expect people, like our coaches, to know what they should be doing because they do it, which a false step backwards is like expecting that the member should know what Cindy is. But we should always be restating our expectations, holding people accountable to it, and then providing praise when they do it.
Yeah. Well, it also depends on where they are on their learning curve, right? And I don't know if we have time to go into that, but the situational leadership graph that you'll find in the 1 Minute Manager is applicable to coaching in a class like it is to coaching a team, you know. And sometimes we go too quickly towards delegation. We think, oh, just because someone's been here for 2 years, they know, you know. Yeah. So you still have to keep an eye on it. It's like you go into class and you're doing a back squat day. You got guys that have been with you for 7 years, right? And they back squat heavy. They've got their weight belts. You know, they're ready to rock and roll. You know, and then you got the newbies. Okay, well, you're going to get everyone to warm up. You know, but you can say, okay, I'm going to be over this side. Hey, you three guys, yeah, you'll be on the bar together. One is doing safety, the other one's resting, the other one's squatting, and you turn the three of you, right? Guys, be careful. Just make sure you're giving the safety correctly. I'll leave you guys to warm up. You're gonna have 10 minutes, and you delegate it. But you're still with the newbies, but you're still with an eye over there, right? And if they're doing some stupid shit, you're gonna be, hey, Peter, yeah, dude, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. It's like, so you're not gonna just like turn your back on it, and then when some shit happens, you go, oh my god, you know, I thought you guys knew. You don't do that in a class. Yeah. You shouldn't do any business, you know.
Well, I think exactly, and so because I think those consistencies can present themselves in a class and then present themselves in how we manage. And, you know, I just think about it like as a team perspective, like, you know, John shows up half an hour early, sets up his class in advance. Steve rolls in at 5 minutes to start. But as you said, we're in this people business, and our members will sit and say, oh, well, that's just the way he does it. Like, it's okay. Oh, yeah, he's coaching today. We'll get our workout started. It doesn't matter if this guy is a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. Eventually, that member who says, oh, it's no big deal. Well, it may not be the direct reason why they want to leave, but it may be an indirect reason that pushed them over the edge. And that's what he talks about in the E-Myth, is those inconsistencies of experience.
Right. That's right. The what was I can't remember the experience was outstanding. I was in Eastern Europe in a hotel, and honestly, I got in super late. I mean, like it must be like 1 a.m. And so you normally get like, you know, the night receptionist, a bit bleary-eyed, maybe a student reading a book or something, you know, or you have to ring the bell on the door.
Yeah.
And I arrived at 1 a.m. and there was a doorman just inside, right? So the door was closed, but the guy was standing up. He had sharp tie, jacket, polished shoes. And as soon as he saw me, smile, he opened the door, held the door for me, asked me if he could take my bag, you know, 1 a.m., right? And I'm like, this is like pretty rare. Maybe I just got in, you know, at the right time, sort of thing. Then the next day, I saw I was in reception having a meeting, and so I could see the entrance to the hotel, and he did exactly the same thing for every single person that walked through the door. So it wasn't, I just caught this guy at the right time, he was near the door or something. It's like that was in the standards, that was in the procedures. You know, on the first impression, the first welcome, you know, no one has to touch the door. No one, you know, you deload their bags, you walk them to reception, you give them a smile, you offer them a drink. It's like the hospitality as you approach that hotel was as good at 3 p.m. when I was doing my meeting than when I arrived the night before at 1 a.m. And that is a sign of a well-run operation, you know. And I think that's what we need to, you know, it shouldn't be hit and miss. It shouldn't be dependent on who's working that day, right?
And you know, it's interesting also for me is having revisited this is, and why I think why traction is really great is, you know, it makes you revisit your vision, mission, and values. And I've heard it before, but I want to dig into what your vision and mission is at the Louvre gyms. But, you know, I've worked and coached other business owners or CrossFit gym owners over time. And I think when we think about like, hey, what's your vision for your affiliate? We try to go towards this like spiritual awakening, some altruistic like piece versus, for me, I had this epiphany of like just truly this past summer, like when applied correctly, the CrossFit prescription never not works.
Yeah.
And it's like that becomes my why and my mission. Is it just because it always works? If it's applied correctly, it will work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then you can go into the layer further. If we need that now more than ever with today's society. So what is, I know you have a very similar kind of like simplistic mission for as big and broad as your gyms are. Can you share with them what they are and how you got there?
Well, for us, it's to create an environment whereby anybody that wants to integrate CrossFit into their life, to live a better life, can do, regardless of their age, fitness level, sex, sexuality, gender, religion, race, color. We don't care. So long as you're ready to make the effort and you're not a dick, you're welcome in our environment. And then the vision off the back of that is, I have a vision of how we interact with our team. I have a vision of how our team interacts with our members. I have a vision of how all of this comes together. The difference between the mission is the destination, and the destination is I want them to integrate CrossFit into their lives. And the vision is, how do we do that? What gets said as they walk through the door? What does reception look like and smell like? Do we have changing rooms? Don't we have changing rooms? What sort of class we give them, and that kind of stuff. What happens throughout the month? What sort of events happen? What's the vision? That's the path. That the mission is the destination, and if you think of the whole picture and the path as it goes, it's like, what are you walking on? Are there flowers? What's the smell? What's the light like? And that's the vision. Who's there with you? And what are they doing as they walk alongside you, and that kind of stuff. And so the vision is way more elaborate than the mission. The mission needs to be, I think, something that's short and that's sharp and that can be easily understandable. And the vision is way more specific and detailed. And then there are values along with that as well. I think the three things go. You got mission, vision, and values, because the values are the rules, your behavior as you're taking that path together, right? And how you engage with each other and what should be important. And then the values are like, they help you filter priorities as well, and make some tough decisions too, right? It's like, if excellence in hospitality and service is something that we espouse to, well, then sometimes, you have to make tough decisions about people as well. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we have developing people, but, if they don't espouse to this value here, well, then they're not the right person. And then we stop developing them. We have to trade them and stop training them, And so your values help you make some tough decisions as well, I think.
It's not a tough question, but I've heard different vision or mission statements from different gyms, and I think a lot of them are centered around community or creating a community or anything like that. In your opinion, do you think CrossFit should be the word and like the element of it? No, I'm just going to say should. I'll just ask it the way I'm thinking. Should that be a more of a centerpiece in the vision or mission?
Well, I think what we do is we share CrossFit. CrossFit is the reason for coming together. The workout is the excuse for bringing people together. The methodology is what's delivered within that 60 minutes, right? And not just during that 60 minutes. We try and influence them outside as well to integrate, the nutrition piece, and so on. So and to come with the consistency that's prescribed with CrossFit as well, right? If you come in and you train once a week and you do nothing else outside, you're not doing CrossFit. If you come in and you just do the workout of the day, and then you go and eat rubbish, and you drink alcohol and you take drugs and whatnot, are you doing CrossFit? I don't think so. I think you're doing functional movements at high intensity, once a week, and if you want to say you're doing CrossFit, it should integrate multiple facets of your life. And as you said, why? Because when it's applied correctly, it works every time. I've never had a discussion like, you get some members go, oh, well, I'm not getting the results I really want. Ask them questions. How often are you coming? What do you eat? Oh, well, I'm coming 7 days a week. It's like, exactly. Take rest days, idiot. It's like, the prescription is 5-6 times a week, which means what? Which means you get 2 rest days in the week if you want. Pick your rest days. Go hard when you're in. Oh yeah, well, but then I come in and I'll do 2 workouts. We say intensity versus volume, it's like, that, right? That's part of the methodology too, right? Privilege, intensity over volume. So all of these things, whenever someone says to me, oh yeah, it's not working for me. Okay, let's sit down and have a chat. And I can tell you why it's not working. Go and fix that. And I promise you, CrossFit will work for you. It works 100% of the time when it's integrated into someone's life correctly. You said it earlier, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because it's also worth, like, by putting CrossFit to say, because it gives you a direction and purpose. And as you say, like, we have so much going on as entrepreneurs and coaches, is like, sometimes we need to put up our own guardrails for ourselves to say, like, okay, I've got 80 things going on. What am I doing? Oh yeah, CrossFit. Because when you center it around a community, and again, this is my opinion or perspective of it, when you build your vision or mission around a community, well, you can build a community around anything. You can build a community around ultra marathons, around kite flying, RC cars, right? Like, so, and I think maybe that's why we see folks quick to maybe question CrossFit or leave CrossFit. And we don't need to get into that either, but because their subconscious or conscious is steered towards building this community, as opposed to, it's like, well, what do you guys do as a community? Oh yeah, we do CrossFit.
But I'm going to draw something for you again. Bear with me. Sorry. It's just 4 words.
Okay.
But...
Oh, not me. What? I'm gonna put you on full screen here so we can all. Okay, so I'm going to narrate quickly. What we have on the screen right now is he's wrote with beautiful handwriting: CrossFit, people, sales, and numbers. Carry on.
And these are the 4 things that, if I have to put into buckets, I mean, like Greg used to do the 5 buckets of death, right? And I'll put these are the 4 buckets of success for me. And you need to fill these 4 buckets. You need to love and fall in love with these 4 things. And in order, I believe, right? So some people think they fall in love with the CrossFit, but they see it as, they hear the word, they like some workouts, etc., but they don't necessarily understand the full methodology, right? They haven't fallen in love with the CrossFit yet. And before you can really share the methodology with people, you have to understand it. You have to have lived it. You have to have tried the friggin' zone diet. You got to, you've got to try and do pirouettes and handstands. You got to before you can fully try and transfer it and share it with other people. And what I mean by falling in love with CrossFit is falling in love with it for yourself. That you want to talk about CrossFit all the time. You will never get bored with coaching CrossFit. You fall in love with the breadth and depth of the education, level 1, level 2, level 3, all the online courses, all the articles, videos. You go in and you're looking at the old journal, you're looking at the old articles that Greg wrote, you're looking at all the stuff that's coming out from the CrossFit Medical Society. You read the emails every single day. You're going into CAP and you're studying the programming. You're looking at CrossFit Kids programming. That's the level of love you should have for CrossFit, is that it consumes you. Right? When you've done that, then I think you can hope to share with success with other people, because you have so much to give them, and your enthusiasm and love for CrossFit will be friggin' contagious, that other people will follow. You'll influence people through your love from CrossFit, right? So those are the first 2. And when you fall in love with other people, it means you get to the point where you'll spend more time sharing it with other people than actually, wanting to just train yourself. This is where you can become a good coach, is when you fall in love with CrossFit, you've trained in another gym, you've been doing other, and then you want to share it so much with other people that then you go and become a coach, or you go and open a gym. And that's a pretty successful route. You fall in love with other people to the point where you start to study people. You study them, you study interactions, you study neurolinguistic programming, you study you start to understand their goals. You start to understand different profiles of prospects. You start to understand those that have only just begun to hear of CrossFit and they need some time and they need repetition. You understand those that have tried other things and are afraid of CrossFit. You understand those that are sedentary and afraid of CrossFit. You understand those that come and say, hey, I need to get fit before I come and do this. You understand what they're, without them even saying it, you understand their fears and the potential objections. And when you start to understand also the pathway they go through when they start to integrate into your gym and they start to integrate CrossFit into their lives, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? How does CrossFit, what's it going to help them fulfill, right? What are their goals? How can CrossFit help them today? How can it help them in the future? What are the things they need to tick off to be a happier, more fulfilled human being? CrossFit can give a lot of those things, right? So you need to study people, motivation, psychology, so on and so forth. When you've done that, you can start to influence people more. And that's when you get into sales. Sales is another word for influencing. You influence them to make the right decision to join your gym. You influence them to make the right decision to integrate CrossFit into their life. You influence them sufficiently that they want to stay with you. You influence them sufficiently that they want to talk all the time to their friends and family about it, and they want to bring people in, and and that kind of stuff. And then it helps you grow your business. And then the last thing is numbers. Why? Because if you're scaling your gym to any extent, you need to start measuring the things that are important for your success. And the numbers only become important when you get to a certain size. I mean, we ran our gym off Excel spreadsheets for the first 8 months. We didn't have so many members that we needed an app and all this kind of stuff, right? But we knew what we were measuring, And so you measure. What do you measure? You can measure your class attendance. You can see what's working, what's not working. Is it the title you've given to the class? Is it the coach? Is it the program? You can measure all of that. We measure our members' success, right, and their goals. What else can you measure? You can measure the frequency they come to the gym. You can measure what are your busiest days, what are your calmest days, what can you do to spread people out over the week, so on and so forth. You can measure how many people you talk to, how many people accept the appointments, how many people come in, how many people join, how many people go through your on-ramp. You can measure how long they stay, so you know what the danger zone is, right? You can measure all of these things. You can measure average revenue per member, so you know how many more members you need to get to break even, and so on and so forth. You can measure freezes. You can measure how many bank rejects. You can measure the percentage you get back on of bank rejects per month and the work you do. You can measure everything, but you need to choose the numbers that you measure and the ones that become essential for not just your survival, but the future.
Yeah, exactly. He calls it the scorecard. Your scorecard.
That's it. Yeah. So the recap doc is like a monthly scorecard, but we have a daily scorecard on WhatsApp. It's just a message, right? And so on and so forth. So, but you only need to measure those numbers when you get to a certain scale. And to get to a certain scale, you need to have influenced people to join your gym. And you can influence people to join your gym if you love people, and you can influence them if you're passionate about what you're talking about, and you know it. You can fitness in 100 words. You know the difference between CrossFit and some of the shit programs out there. You know the difference between CrossFit and the franchise gyms. You know what CrossFit can bring to people. So for me, these are the 4 things you need to fall in love with, and in order. The number 1 is CrossFit. It's breadth and depth. For you as a person already, for your loved ones, And then once you've done that, then you can afford to start thinking about other people and sharing with other people. And that's the second thing you need to fall in love with. You need to love people. You need to want to really sincerely help people, because people can feel bullshit, but they can feel sincerity, right? And your passion for CrossFit and your sincerity in caring about them is probably the most powerful combination. And then doing the third thing, which is influencing them to join your gym and to stay with you, right? And then you can start measuring.
Sales is just a transference of enthusiasm.
What did you get that
for? From a great conference. Not just the T-shirt.
That is, it's right. For me, that's the best definition of selling is a transfer of enthusiasm for something. And so if you love these first 2 things, you're going to be naturally transferring enthusiasm, right? And selling. And you can add scripts, and you can add neurolinguistic programming and techniques and all this kind of stuff. But you need that essential love for people and that enthusiasm for CrossFit. And those 2 things together are pretty friggin' powerful. I hope that was worth it.
It's funny how the 4th one,
Do you like my? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Like, for Gen X, I'm high on technology.
You're great. You're ahead of the curve here. But it's funny how the first CrossFit and the 4th numbers are actually tied together, because what do we do with every CrossFit workout? We measure it in some way. We know the reps we're doing, the time domain, the weights, right? Like they tie. Look at this. Yeah, the one ties together to the other, right? And so the numbers, I don't know if it takes people's excitement out of it, but I think about it this way: is when I used to never lesson plan for my classes as a coach, and when I started doing it, it was overwhelming. but I started to realize, well, there's only 60 minutes in a class. So you can figure out 60. And we know some things in a class to be the exact same, or not the exact same, but if we have a 5-minute whiteboard brief, a 10-minute cool down, a 20-minute workout, well, now, okay, I only have to account for 18 minutes. I can figure out how to account for 18 minutes. One of the things I've just started doing to try to simplify the process, I'm always trying to revisit the process, but go backwards in evolution, like simplify, is I create a document of just the 51 weeks of the year. And
51.
then what's happening,
Well, the
51,
52nd.
52, yeah. We take that one off in Canada. But yeah, the 52 weeks. But then, okay, well, what do we know to happen? Well, there's the Open. There's 3 weeks. There's the new Community Cup. That's another week. There's the CrossFit Games. That's another week. Here's our holidays, this and that.
No, Chad.
And then when Chad's coming up, right? And so, and this is just me, but I've just the bigger picture of showing how the numbers create predictability in the future is like on my push press, it gives me an engagement chart, like a line graph to say like how many people were checked in. It's like, oh, look at that spike in March. What happened there? Oh, that's the Open. Okay, the Open works. We're going to push the Open again this year. Oh, that was every month there's a holiday. Okay, that makes sense. If we're closed that day, we're going to see a drop in attendance. So doing this at first can be overwhelming, but just like we know in a workout is it helps us become predictable. And then once it's predictable, we can start to think more ahead.
Yeah, I think the moment that a gym owner can do this is when they bring on board someone to assist them and help them. Initially, when you bring someone on board, it's going to be quite time intensive with them because you've got to teach them, right, in order to become good enough to be autonomous. But once you're over that hump and then that part of the learning curve, it gives an owner a few hours, maybe a couple of hours a day, a few hours a week, whatever it is, to stop doing something and actually just sit there and think and analyze and look at some numbers, pick the numbers they want to. And you use the example of like class attendance. We use that every single month. The head coaches come in on our leadership day and they present to me the class attendance from the gym, and then by forcing them to do that, we sit back and we go, hang on, okay. And we look at the Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Friday, every day of the week. And we look at class attendance, total number of people that come into the gym. And you realize that, oh, hang on a second, Sundays. We have more average attendance Sunday than any other day of the week. Okay, well, what do we need to do then? Well, just by looking at that number, you know that if you want to optimize, maybe we put a little bit more resource on the Sunday. So you add a class or two, you may need to put an extra pair of hands on reception on a Sunday because you got such high attendance. So all these numbers serve a purpose, and you can't look at every number. I mean, I would recommend that you look at every number progressively over time, and then you pick the ones that are your priorities, right? But we look at, for example, number of people that joined in July, and then at the end of August, we look at how many of them registered for on-ramp, had never done CrossFit before. Okay, what percentage have done all 3 on-ramps? Okay, cool. Have they received the service calls? Okay, how many are stuck between 1 and 3? How many have done none? And these are like the red lights, priority. Those are the first phone calls we do. And so by measuring, it's this. You can optimize. By measuring, you know where to put your resources, what to focus on, right? And you have limited time. You have limited human resources. So you have to pick and choose your biggest battles. And you can only do that if you're measuring, your KPIs or whatever you want to call them, right?
And I mean, and it's just, again, what are you trying to achieve, or what's the destination that you're hoping to get to? Because, as you said, like, we want to eventually be able to delegate others to be on that path for us, but just to be able to say, where am I going? So that way I can keep myself in line. And I know we could sit and do a whole nother conversation about leadership, but I think one of the easiest ways to attract people as a leader is is to just show that you're going in a certain direction. It doesn't necessarily have to be the right direction, because you don't have to tell people what your destination is, but just to say, like, to in your body language, your professionalism, the way you go about your business, show that you have some sort of direction that you're going towards, and people either consciously or subconsciously will pick up on that and be like, we're going to follow this guy because he looks like he knows where he's going.
Yeah, and also you I think if you're saying about, you know, showing the direction you want to go in, you can start literally by being clear on your mission, and by talking about your vision and sharing clearly, you can filter who follows you and who doesn't, you know. And so, for example, like, you know, I have no intention and no great desire of sending athletes to the CrossFit Games. You know, that's not. I have nothing. I love the CrossFit Games. I was out now, I freaking love it. I watched every workout. Had a huge amount of fun with my son and his mom and some friends. You know, it was a wild time. You know, we run the in-person qualifier in Europe, right? The French Showdown. I enjoy competition, but my gym, my vocation in my gym, I want it to be the best place for people that have never done CrossFit to start their journey. You know, that's what we want. And so by being unashamed about that, you know, and being very vocal about it, I attract trainers that like that. I attract the trainers that care about whether the 60-year-old lady who is upset because her kids have left the home now, she's divorced, her cat just died, and she's like, she hasn't done any activity in 20 years. That for me is way more important than the 20-year-old who wants to do all the local throwdowns and then make it to in-person qualify and go to the games. You know, I think we have more value on the you know, my 60-year-old neighbor. It's actually a case in point. It's actually someone that I have in mind. But for me, our role is there, you know, and I want to attract the people that understand that and that are aligned with me on that. So be very vocal about what you want with the gym. And I have nothing against those gyms that really, you know, that are very focused on competition. They will attract a different type of person. You know, it's like, for me, every prospect will find their gym, and every gym will attract its prospects. You know, and that's it. And that's it.
Maybe the fault is not having the wrong mission, but maybe the fault lies in not communicating that mission. As you know, Jack, another book that I've got from you, Winning, as Jack Welch says, is you should be communicating your mission daily to the point where people are like, I get it. But at least they'll know what it is.
Yeah. Well, like the conversation I was talking to you about on the service calls, where I was a bit upset that this guy, he's doing service calls, but they're mediocre. It's like, okay, I call him and I have a conversation. It's like, dude, do you understand why this is so important? It's because the people that may bounce, right, that come in, they find the courage to walk through the door of a CrossFit gym. They've never done any activity in their life or anything. How intimidating is that shit, you know? Just walking in the door, you know, and you've got all these fit people around and they're like 20 years younger than you. And you're going, shit, this may not be for me. And then you walk downstairs and half of the guys got their shirts off and they're ripped, you know, they're like, oh my God. It's like, you know, a normal human being is quaking in their shoes going, geez, I would love to look like that. I'd love to be able to move like that, but I'm way off. Maybe this isn't for me. But then we manage to convince them to trust us and give us a shot. And we make one phone call at 15 days to see how it's going. How did their first sessions go? Who was their coach? Tell us about the experience. How are you feeling afterwards? How many sessions have you done? What's the next session you booked into? Do you know that next week we have a coffee morning with the coaches? You can come in and ask any questions. It's like, and we don't get that right. Our mission is to help this person integrate CrossFit into their life, dude. You know, that's how important these talking points are. We have to get that opportunity right. And so again, you know, it's like, as you're saying, you know, hammer the mission. Said, like, if you choose not to call someone who, like, you know, is already super fit, they're a fireman, you know, they come in and their goal is to shave 4 seconds off their Fran time, and you don't call them at 15 days, I'm not so worried. But 95% of our prospects that walk through the door and join our gym, they're not that person. They're the ones that need the phone call, and your phone call will make a huge difference to their experience in the hospitality and how much trust they have in us. And whether they feel as though, if they have a doubt, they're thinking, oh, you know, some people join and they go, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to see, you know. Then they get stuck in traffic and they're 45 minutes late to their class and they don't pitch up. And then like 2 weeks later, they've never come to the gym. It's like, shit, those are the ones, your phone call is make or break. Your phone call is literally the opportunity to catch them, save them, and say, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. It's okay. You know, you're going through the hardest part is integrating CrossFit into your life. But once you get into that habit of 3 times a week, man, you'll be coming to us asking how you can make it 4. And that's what we're going to get you to. When are you coming in next? Let's book that session in. And so that was a conversation I had with the I'm not going to give his name, but he's a receptionist in Paris who wasn't doing the service calls correctly. And then I brought it back to our mission of and it's true, you have to keep hammering away at what you want and why. It's like, what is the mission? And they have to know it as well as you do. But then what is their role and importance in the mission? They need to understand that as well, because otherwise the mission just becomes something up on a wall. But how do you break that mission down? And what is the role of the person at reception? What's the role of the cleaning company? What's the role of the person making the phone calls? What's the role of the coach on the gym floor? What's the role of the assistant coach on the gym? What's the role of the head coach in viewing all of this and seeing this and overseeing the integration process? They have to understand how all of their roles come together for us to fulfill the mission. And if they don't do their role correctly, our mission is a failure. So yeah, sorry about that. But mission is, yeah, but then you have to break it down to what their role, why their role is important in achieving the mission.
And I mean, and like I said, I think and I actually do have it here. One thing, I think, we got some really great souvenirs at the Coaches and Owners Conference. We got this great t-shirt. We got a great lime green Yeti, not the 12-ounce Yeti from the games.
I didn't get one of those. I was persona non grata. I was in the Naughty Boys Club.
I did cut it in half because I had 2 books going, but you gave us a bookmark of with all the books.
Dude, you could have asked me for 2 bookmarks.
I didn't know I'd be reading another book. I after this, he has a follow-up, Awakening the Entrepreneur Within. So I went and purchased that, cut the bookmark in half, and it's in there. But the point is, I guess, is like, as all these broad things we're talking about is they're all in here, and they all apply to us. And whether you can think like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or for some folks, if you're in the right headspace, and don't count it, as you said already, like, you won't read the same book twice. If you read it the first time and it's like, oh, maybe it's not for me, just keep it on the shelf. I did that with this one. But what are some of the other resources that are coming down the pipeline from yourself and CrossFit? The question, what do I get with my affiliation? Well, we got a lot coming out the pipeline if you use it.
Yeah. I mean, well, the first thing you're talking about was the bookmark, and on the bookmark there was 16 books. There's a list of 16 books that I recommend to anybody that would like to be more successful in running their gym. It's not, you don't have to, but it's a pretty exhaustive list of books. And a good way of reading the books more than once is you read them for yourself and you study it, and then there's a moment where you grow to a point where you need to be coaching other people to become leaders, and so you review the book with them, and you don't have to reread the whole thing. You may reread just what you've highlighted, and then you do like a book club with them and that kind of stuff. And that's where, like, Good to Great, I've read 7 times, by Jim Collins. Why? Because I read it for myself once, and then I've done 6 different groups over the years that I've taken through Good to Great, and so I was talking about that the other day. So the reading list is why? Because some people want to read and they take time. They take time to grow and develop, and it's not just reading; it's studying the book. It's reading it and taking it, and maybe you read half a page and you have to put it down because you're writing notes, and it's like you've had a brain fart. It's like, oh my God, how does this apply to how we share our experience? And you write, what about this? My discussions with my coaches and so on and so on. And so you actually study a book. You don't just read it. Right? Other stuff that we have is, like, when people say, oh, what do I get for my affiliation? I'll tell you what. When I mean, you like me, when we affiliated, right? It's like what you got was the right to use the name, as in, like, you could openly share the methodology, and you could be loud and proud about it, and you could put the name in your gym shirt and sell t-shirts. And I sell a truckload of t-shirts every year with CrossFit Louvre on, and thank you very much. Just that is makes the affiliation worth it. what else do you get for the affiliation? The right to use and abuse the EDU, level 1s, level 2s, level 3s. You piggyback off the education service, right? And it's something that really good boxers do naturally. There's a natural evolution, and all the online courses and all that kind of stuff, and unashamedly talk about CrossFit. We are CrossFit. We do CrossFit. I think those are the most important things. The rest is very dialed in. I can give you like a shopping list, and it's for me, those are the secondary things. They help. They're going to help you operate, and they're going to help you scale a bit. All the stuff that comes out in the trainer email, the CrossFit training podcast, all that kind of stuff helps you deliver better service and hospitality to your members, right? But then on the affiliate toolkit, man, Mike Raygoza, who came in, and he's doing a wild job on the affiliate toolkit in packaging things for affiliates. So he's making things way more accessible. The CrossFit Kids programming is there that most affiliates don't even know exists. There's CrossFit. I use it on my gyms. There's CrossFit Kids programming, and it's super well done in the affiliate toolkit. CAP. I mean, we don't follow CAP like every day, but my 3 head coaches, because our gyms are very different, right? One's a huge gym with 2 spaces, another one's a small one with 4 small spaces, another one's got low ceilings and all that. So we have to adapt workouts. But all 3 gyms study CAP. They read it, they study it every single week, and we'll take the workouts. And so, sometimes I'll find a workout in Louvre 2 on CAP, and I go to Paris on the Monday, and it's the same workout as we had a few days back. So we use unashamedly CAP. The lesson plans, scaling options, all the briefing notes. I mean, like honestly, like James Hobart, Spencer Hendel, they are the mutts nuts. These guys are the dog's bollocks, right? They know their shit, and they're really, really good at it. And it's part of being an affiliate. You don't have to use it, and there are really good there are very good other programs out there. But I would still say, hey, go and read it, go and study it. That's all part of being an affiliate too. In the affiliate toolkit, what's coming? Well, all the talks from the affiliate conference, the owners and coaches conference, are going to be coming out there. They're being edited, and they're going to be put online. So you can see them without having had to go to Albany and sit through the 2 days. You can pick your topics and subjects. You've got obviously email of the day and all that kind of stuff. And then we're doing owner education, where we talk about a lot of the topics we've spoken about in our call now. We do a deep dive.
Using the fancy screen.
Yeah. This is getting some usage. Yeah. Well, I had to make it worthwhile buying it. It was like a new toy. I was like, oh yeah, and like I couldn't make it work. So now I'm making it work. I use it for everything. It's like even shopping lists and all that kind of stuff. So the prospecting, sales, integrating new members, different strategies for integration, pricing, how you present your prices, overcoming objections, asking for referrals, different ideas on hospitality, generating wealth through being a box owner. All of these topics are there. We're currently going through at a really good rate. We're filming. Often we're doing several hours a week of filming. And it's like for 1 hour filming, honestly, it'll take me 12, 15 hours of preparation. The notes and stuff, and I like it to seem like it's off the cuff, but it's not. It's like some serious prep goes into each hour filming. We're doing leadership and developing high performance teams. We're talking a lot about people. We're talking a lot about how to challenge your high performers. Well, how already to activate them, how to observe behaviors, how to give feedback, how to praise, reprimand, all that kind of stuff. We talk about different models for dealing with people. The learning curve of situational leadership, the 1-minute management model, the Jack Welch winning model of the 20-70-10 that you've read, all that kind of stuff is how can you integrate these different models and perhaps use them. We look at org charts. We look at using education and giving a career path to coaches and giving a career path to front of house receptionists. All of that's going to be in the owner education piece. So there's a lot to come, and then we'll do some stuff on finances. We'll do some stuff on P&Ls, how to plan maybe your year financially, then how to bring that back to a monthly plan, and how do you work that, and then how do you work that on a daily basis, right? So you want to fulfill your yearly goals. Okay, well, how do you bring that back to a quarter? How do you bring it back to a month? And how do you bring it back to a day? Multi-site management. So if you want to go from one gym to two, what are some of the things that might help you to do that more successfully? So there's going to be a lot in there, and we're having a lot of fun doing it as well. So Mike isn't on camera. I'm the one on camera sometimes, but he's the guy weaving the magic behind it. So Mike, if you're watching this, I call him Big Mike. I'm going to post a photo today of him, actually, because I take photos of him on this screen, and I'm drawing things like coming out of his mouth and horns and shit. So I post those photos from time to time. But we're having a wild time doing it, and it's all stuff that I use on a daily basis with my gyms, and it's also stuff that I've picked up. I've been very fortunate in my career, right? The two biggest companies that I've worked for, CrossFit, and before that was a Globo gym. So two very different things, right? One is full of emotion and community, and the other one was full of processes and scaling and that kind of stuff. So I'd say CrossFit is more this, and then what I had in Fitness First was how to lead these people, but was a lot of this, and so it's helped me bring the two together. And I think that it's like a buffet style. You don't have to do everything. You can take something like, oh shit, I like point number 1, I like point number 7, and I like point number 413, and I'm going to apply those. And if you improve those, you're going to, you may be more successful. My experience, my work with affiliates tells me that you will be. And we have so much. There's so much potential out there. There's so many people. Everybody needs CrossFit, right? And so yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface, And so I get it frustrated when people are like, oh, don't have enough members. I'm going to start doing, I don't know, cryotherapy is going to be my next thing, or it's like,
yeah.
How about let's just double down on sharing CrossFit. Let's double down on and let's alleviate some of the strain. Grab some processes, integrate those, make life easier for you, right? Understand the numbers, understand where you are, understand what you need to do to be more successful and to have some oxygen. Understand where you need to get to be happy, to be earning what you need to earn, to stay motivated through time and not have to look for the next shiny thing, I think we're going to have some really good years ahead of us. I think sorry. Go
I was just gonna say, Built to Sell was the book for me that first opened that door, and I very coincidentally read Built to Sell and then Good to Great, right? The flywheel or the hedgehog concepts, and it's just like, I would recommend truly, maybe even before reading these two books, like, you don't have to want to sell your gym, but you just have to read it to understand, like, just what's the one thing that you do, and then it's further expanded upon in Good to Great of like the hedgehog concept. Like, CrossFit training runs the best group exercise experience for individuals of different abilities while fostering personal relationships better than anywhere else in the entire world. And that is not, I believe that is not a CrossFit kind of Kool-Aid statement. You show me a program that does it better. I think, but you and I are both the type, we're drawn to what works, as we said. And if there was a better way to do it, then we would.
Yeah, they used to say on the level 1, right? We'll do whatever works best, whatever pays, we'll do it. It's like if you tell me like sticking a pink feather up my butt and rollerblading around the Eiffel Tower is the best way to get fit, right? And then that person goes to the games and wins the games. Well, then what am I going to be programming on the Monday? So I'm going to be programming, feather up your bum and rollerblading around the Eiffel Tower. Right? We will do what gives you the best work capacity across board, time, and modal domains, right? That's it. And you're saying about like the models, like it's like you got to understand what you're passionate about, what you can be the best at, and what drives your economic engine, right? This was the Good to Great, the three circles piece, right? And that's it there. And if that's sharing CrossFit, you're onto a winner. And it doesn't mean just because you're having a tough time that you can't win. It's like the biggest fallacy is people think there's a moonshot with the company. No company was a moonshot. Nike, Apple, Google, whatever. It's like no company had a moonshot. You look back at the companies on good to great, right? You had the good the super successful companies over like a generation, and then you had the comparison companies, and everyone thinks that the super successful ones, they had a straight line to success over like a 15-year period or 20-year period. That's total bullshit, right? They didn't have a straight line. It's a friggin' sigmoid curve. You got success, and then you get a bit complacent, and you start to drop off a bit, and you got a bit of less success. You start asking the questions here, you make some modifications, and then you come back again, and it's a sigmoid curve. Sometimes it goes down a bit more, and it comes up. But over time, it goes up, right? But it's a fucking sigmoid curve. That's what success looks like. And as a gym owner, you're going to be going through the same thing. You've got initial success. That's great, and then it's going to start plateauing. And what do you do? Well, when it plateaus, hopefully you've already anticipated before, right? When you're successful, if you're following the numbers, you're measuring, you're observing, right? You know what's repeatable, and you want to keep tweaking and modifying. You've asked yourself the right question here, so there's no dip, right? It just comes here and then it goes up again, right? So the more you're following your business, the lower the dip will be. I'm not going to tell you that the Louvre gyms every single month we're growing. Not true. We've had some tough years.
Right.
COVID, coming out of COVID, we get a great coach that we have to separate ourselves from. And he sends DMs to all our members, offering them, to train in another gym for $50 less and all that kind of stuff. You're going to take a hit, right? Every gym has that. But it's a sigmoid curve. Stick with it. If you truly believe in what you're doing, if that, the center of those three circles, that's training costs. And that's why, people go, oh, wow, only like 10,500 gyms with CrossFit. Oh my God. It's like, no, most of those that dropped off, they hit the sigmoid curve, and they didn't have the resilience. They didn't have the level of belief and passion. Yeah. And perseverance is there's something to be said for perseverance. And we can talk about, I'm Gen X, right? And it's like talking, you always bitch about the young generation, but it's like shit, a bit of backbone, and sticking through it in tough times. I mean, I'd lie if I said we haven't had tough times in all three gyms. Of course we have, and we'll have more tough times in the future. But we know where we're going. We know why we're doing it. We're passionate about it, and we get to a point where we can pay good salaries to our teams, and we can invest in the gyms, and we can redo the changing rooms, and we can think about sticking in now, an ice bath and a sauna and a really nice recuperation. We can do all that stuff, but we don't lose what our essence is. Our essence is group coaching of CrossFit and helping people integrate the methodology into their life. And the moonshot is, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Everything plateaus at one point, and then either you are able to tweak it and come back up, or you throw in the towel. And too many people, when they start the dip, first, second, or third dip, they throw in the towel. It's fine. Fair weather friends, right?
That's right. Well, and I mean, I know, as we're recording this, it's currently Friday night in the south of France. I know I saw the mirror behind you, and so there's a window in front of you that it's getting darker there. So I want to give you a little bit more of your Friday night back.
That's mine.
Oh,
that's mine.
Never mind. We got lots of time.
That's it. Daytime. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, but we had mentioned, and it's like, when applied correctly, the CrossFit prescription never not works. Want to wrap up in a way of like, I'll try to articulate the best way I can, but like affiliate ownership, like when applied correctly, and correctly is a subjective term in this case, you feel like affiliate ownership is the best way to give you the life you want when applied correctly. If you want it, like, and maybe the affiliate ownership is hard, or it has to be hard, is a little too celebrated. But like the hardships are the sigmoid curve parts, but when applied correctly, you can have the freedom. Like a CrossFit affiliate is a vehicle for whatever freedoms you want to have in your life. And I maybe people don't believe they're worthy of it. I don't know, but
I think the greatest thing that the CrossFit affiliation gives me it gives me professional meaning to my life. I can go and earn a shit ton of money doing something else.
Sure.
But feeling like my existence has a purpose, man, you know, I'd argue that's pretty hard. You know, if I owned I don't know, Barry's Boot Camp or you know, an F-72
Chick-fil-A.
or whatever you call them. Yeah, you know, I could go and open 10 laundrettes, man, and make a shit ton of money. And you know, I could own property and do Airbnbs and stuff. And you know, I make money on the stock exchange. I mean, it's like you can make money in various ways. And I do, but you know, no one said affiliate ownership would be easy, right? It's meaningful. It's meaningful. Get stuck in, learn, become better, you know, become a better leader, become a better coach, become a better person, care. And it gives you amazing meaning. And then when you do that and you start doing right, all of a sudden it's like, you know, Greg used to say, you know, don't run after the money, you know, seek excellence, the money will come or the rewards will come. And he's right. But where the misinterpretation, I think, by many was, it was like, seek excellence as a coach and only as a coach. And I think today you got to seek excellence as a place with hospitality and service, and seek excellence in attracting new people, seek excellence in onboarding newbies, seek excellence in creating an environment where people really want to come and share with you. Seek excellence in all of those facets. I think that remains true, what Greg said. But it's not limited to just what happens in the 60 minutes on the gym floor.
Yeah. And on that note, 3, 2, 1, time.